And hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Freedom Network. We're here with you again. We've got a lot to talk about today. You know, before we dive into today's topic, and we have to talk about the State of the Union that the President made, before we do that, we all just had a pretty good storm here. I think Stoughton got about 30 inches, maybe even 31 inches, somewhere in that area. Different amounts in different areas. I wanted to start off today by letting you know how disgusted I am that the governor had to tell me, basically put us under a non-travel or house arrest, if you will, because we were getting some snow. While I understand that the government certainly has that right, what really fries me beyond belief is the fact that we're willing to allow ourselves to give that right up with no outrage. Where's the outrage? Where is the passion about our freedoms of movement? 30 inches of snow, you can't go outside. Mr. Governor, if I want to be an idiot, that's my right, and I can be an idiot. And I understand about clearing the roads and all this, but we had many communities with no school on Monday. I was out in my town and other towns right after the storm when we were allowed back out, and the roads were terrible. So what was the point of it? Just an exercise in the government's right into your everyday life. Now, I wanted to start off with that, but I do want to welcome everybody. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter, to email us your thoughts at timagary@gmail.com. We've got some great responses, and we want to thank everybody for doing so, and continue to do that. You're giving us great show ideas, you're challenging things, you're agreeing with things. We love to hear the feedback, so please keep it coming. You know, it's interesting. Last night was when the State of the Union was aired, and we're recording this the next day. And I really wanted to take some time today to dive into some of what he said, some of what he didn't say, dissect it a little bit, and then I really want your thoughts back. So please use the email, follow the Twitter. We'll get the Twitter up on the screen for you so you'll be able to figure out where to go. But what did he say last night? What did Obama say? He said a lot of things. But to me, it seemed like we were in campaign mode, weren't we? I mean, I went through and took notes through the entire speech that he made. I noticed that there was a Chief Justice that wasn't present. He had another engagement. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but that's a little lack of respect, I think. But we're talking that we've got more jobs. He's talking about the market's doing well. The rubble of crisis has been cleared away. The state of our union is stronger. Really? The state of the union is stronger? The rubble has been cleared? I was losing my mind at 37 seconds in. Company profits are up while wages are stagnant. We need to restore the middle class. Wasn't he doing this 4 years ago? Weren't we doing all of this, Mr. President, 4 years ago? Isn't this the campaign speech that you gave? He wants everybody to put the nation's interest in front of the party's interest. Budget cuts set to begin this year due to deficits. It's all the same garbage, folks. It's all the same garbage. We've been listening and listening and listening to this guy for a long time say the same things, and we've had no real action on it. I've seen numbers when he's computing numbers of people, jobs created. Looking around on the web, different sites, Real Clear Politics, go on to any of the local news stations, go to Fox, go to even CNN, go wherever you want. And what's interesting is that you find that he's including the last quarter of his first term. So when he came in January, he's including numbers from the last quarter of what would have been Bush's term. When you average that in, he can boast of millions and millions of jobs because there was a sharp increase right at that time, and then there's also been a boost right now that's undeniable. There has been a little bit of a boost, but it's not millions and millions. When you average just the 4-year term, my understanding is that it's only at about 1 to 2 million. It's funny how facts can be twisted. It's funny how we sit and expect to hear something, and as long as we hear it, we're happy and we like the guy. We can only cut Medicare, Social Security, health care, education, blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of other things to cut, Mr. President. What about all the pork? What about Bill Clinton and his $100 hammer? What about all that stuff? We don't care about that anymore. What about doormen? What about pork that is so in every program that we just mentioned? How many people does it take to administer the Social Security and the Medicare? He wants to increase taxes again on rich people. Do we understand out there, do we have a basic understanding that no matter how much money you have, well, there's two parts to it. There's a finite amount that you have. I don't care if it's $20 billion or if it's $20. And eventually that would be gone. So if that's gone, when then are you going to, where are you going to get the money? We've talked about it before. You could take the top 1%, take all their earnings for a year, and you'd run the government for like under a month. Maybe a little better than a month. We'll call it a month. Call it 2 months. It doesn't matter. It's not the money. It's not the income that is the problem. It's the management of it when it gets to Washington. And none of them want to talk about this. Some spending cuts and some revenue, he says. Close loopholes. Didn't we just close loopholes? Isn't that what we were just doing? What has been going on for the past 4 years? And more importantly, what's been going on in the past few years? When he first came into office, he could have done anything he wanted. You're talking about a guy that had the Senate. He had the House. And he, of course, possesses the White House. Nothing was done. He was going to fix all this stuff. So yeah, do I seem upset? You're darn right I'm upset. I'm mad as hell. And the reason I'm mad as hell is because we're still talking about the same stuff, the same issues that no one can agree on. Give me a break. He wants to reform the tax code. Lower rates for smaller businesses. Really? He wants to lower rates for smaller businesses? In the past 4 years, you own a small business? Have your rates even hinted about going down? But now that's what he wants to do? It's talk. It's blah, blah, as I call it. Blah, 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 blah. Do you remember the Peanuts, the cartoon? When the parents would speak, what it would sound like? That's what Obama sounds like to me. Everyone needs to give in areas. Keep government open. Transparency. Do you remember when we were talking about health care, when he was talking about his administration being transparent 4 years ago, and how we were going to air things on C-SPAN, and this was going to be an open dialogue? Do you remember all that? Does that matter anymore? Would anybody in the media like to comment on the fact that there's not been one hearing that I know of about health care on C-SPAN? I don't think there's been anything on C-SPAN from his direction at all. We all must compromise, he says. It was the president's lack of compromise, folks, that almost shut down government. It was his heels that were dug in, as well as Republican heels. To compromise does not mean to cave in. Bipartisanship does not mean Republicans give Democrats everything they want. That's not how it is. It's not the definition of the word. You may think so if you listen to some of the major news networks out there. All proposals are going to increase the deficit or the debt. I don't see how they don't. More manufacturing in America with government support. So do we now decide which companies? We talked about this before and about the slippery slope. We've been down this road. We've talked it out. You've emailed on it. The government has no business in private business. Plain and simple. Do there need to be regulations? Sure. Do there need to be taxes? Of course they do. Of course. I'm not a no government kind of guy. But this government that we have today is so big and so intrusive, it's part of everyday life. Everything he said yesterday, everything he wants to do, these are things we should do. You, me, everybody. It's not the government's place. Invest in science and medicine in amounts not seen since the space race. I didn't know we had this money. Again, you can take the richest 1%, take it all. Eventually, you're going to run out of that. What is it that they don't understand in Washington, that this is not a never-ending bucket of money that you could just keep pulling out of, and there's always going to be money there? This is the problem. And what did we hear last night as they stand and applaud? More of the same. Didn't George Bush get crucified for stay the course? It was no good when he wanted to stay his course, but Obama wants to do exactly what he said he was going to do 4 years ago. I guess this is his second take. This is take two. This is round two, second chance, do-over. It's a do-over. Energy. He wants to produce more. Better mileage, alternative energy. We've heard about it. Solyndra. There's a company right here in Massachusetts that the governor was on record as saying was a good investment. I think it was $500 million we pour into this company. I'll think of the name of it. And it's belly up. But the rub was, hey, no, it's all right because it did create some jobs for a while. Again, this is why the government can't be in the business of making jobs. They have to be in the business of allowing companies to make jobs. The government doesn't own anything. It can't. It's not how we work. He wants to do more to combat climate change. He will take executive action. When a president says executive action, that means go around Congress. So he's obviously looked this up, and there are things that he's going to sign executive orders on that will have a direct effect. And if they're politically motivated, it's going to have a negative effect. We cannot keep giving money and forcing Americans to adopt this alternative energy lifestyle until America wants to. Does that compute? Until we want to do it, it will not happen. Much like someone that's on drugs. Until they hit that bottom and say, I need to do it. Well, wait a minute, Gary. That's why the government's going to do it, because they're going to save the day. It's just like with the snow. It's my right. I can do what I want. I'll go out in the snow. It's my right. I'll drive my car. If I was so moved by the electric cars, I would buy them. But let's just face it, it's a select group of people, the beautiful people in many cases, that like to show this carbon footprint reduction because they have an electric car. It's all smoke and mirrors. It means nothing. How do you think the power gets into the battery? You plug it in. Where do you think the power comes from? A coal plant. That's probably where it comes from, a nuclear power plant. It's not coming from wind turbines. If he stood up and he said, we're going to put wind turbines all across America, all through the heartland, all down the middle of the highways, we're going to, and you know what, agree or disagree, it would make an impact because you'd have energy. But this isn't what's happening. What's happening is we're taking our money and throwing it at companies that fail. Let's talk about natural gas. He wants more natural gas. He's very against the fracking. We haven't talked about fracking. How do you want to get the natural gas? He talks about more oil permits, things of that. He had control. He's been the president for 4 years. You have been the president. You could have given out more of those permits that you spoke about last night. You could have done more, but you didn't because it's blah, blah, blah. It's lip service. That's all it is. You'll get it straight here on the Freedom Network. Not going to pull any punches. We use oil and gas revenues to invest in reduction. This is like the cigarette tax. He says that we'll use oil and gas revenues, taxes, so those will be going up, to invest in the reduction to use these things. It doesn't even make sense. He wants to cut in half energy waste. Great. You see, you got to incentivize this stuff. There's got to be an incentive for somebody that's free in a capitalist society that follows a constitution. You need an incentive. Those incentives always have come from tax breaks. That's about all the government could do. But not so true anymore. Now the government just puts the money right into the company. It props it up like a dummy, like we're in some kind of a communist country or a socialist country where the relationship between business and government is melded, where there is no true ownership. We own stocks in General Motors, for crying out loud, people. What else do we have here from the speech? Federal support will come to the states? Great. That's great. So you're going to take my money, you're going to take more of it, and then send it back to me, and you want me to thank you. I'm not even going to go any further. Upgrade our infrastructure to attract businesses. Fix it first. We're back to fixing. Here we go. We're going to fix. Look, I don't know how to build bridges. I don't know how to fill potholes. That's not what I do. I don't know how to build buildings. So there's no job for me? And who are we working for? We work for the government. Sure, you can say I work for A and B construction company, but they're getting money from the government to do the project. This is all false jobs. The projects end. This isn't sustainable. That's not how you grow an economy. The government cannot grow the economy. Not in a capitalist society. The people need to grow the economy. And didn't we just spend billions on this in stimulus money? Didn't we see signs, millions of dollars worth of signs saying this is your stimulus money at work? So that wasn't enough. $1 trillion of stimulus was just blown and it wasn't enough. Some reports say we haven't even spent it all yet. Why? Why? Should everyone just be a laborer and work for the government? Is that what we want? We'll all just go pick up shovels, go where the government tells us, and rebuild the country? Of course the government has to invest in it. Of course the government has to be part of it. But it can't own it. It can't be it. Leave the money in the states, Mr. Obama. We'll fix our own roads. I don't need to send you my money for you to send it back to me. Does that make any sense? They used to say about Ted Kennedy, well, he's fantastic, man. He brings so much money back into this state. I used to say, why does he let it leave in the first place? This is an administration that thinks this much of states' rights. And states' rights, folks, are your rights. The more your state controls things, the better off you'll be, because you have a direct impact through a popular vote, through being able to go to your representative's house, to go to the state house. You're accessible. You don't have that access to Washington. Homes, sales are up. Construction is up. Interest rates are low. I guess that's fixed. Streamline the process to get loans, he says. That is what crashed us the first time. You can't streamline the process. You can't tell banks they have to loan to A, B, or C. That is what really screwed us, people. That's what did it. That was the catalyst that started the whole problem, was money being out there that shouldn't be out there. Think about it. We're out of control. If we think that we're going to ease restrictions again, we think that we're going to streamline a process, it shouldn't be easy to go get a few $100,000. It shouldn't be a given that because you're in a certain group or class or this or that, that you're entitled to a house. If that's what defines your happiness, think again. Education. Poor kids have to go to preschool, is what he was talking about. Okay. 100% of all kids. It's very expensive. He wants to put more money into education. Folks, please, 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 please. We have been putting more and more money into education year after year in this country, both in the state levels, in the federal levels. If money was the answer, the problem would be fixed. Where does the money go? Where does it go into this big, fat government bureaucracy called education? That's where it goes. How much of that bleeds through is very minimal. And I can say that as a fact because we do nothing but spend money on education. And I get notices home if we have any extra pens and paper. Send them in. Glue, supplies. Really? So now we need more money because to get more money, it's going to trickle down through the machine. But the machine takes such a big percentage of the money that you have to have so much going in the top just to get a little juice to squeeze out of the bottom. Not buying it. Take a quick break for a feature. We'll come back and we'll continue on with the speech right here on the Freedom Network.
Hello, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
Well, I am the government and I'm really busy now. You have no idea how hard it is to be president.
I always like to say, politics is not a bad profession. If you succeed, there are many rewards. If you disgrace yourself, you can always write a book. So, what you doing here?
I'm redistributing the wealth. I learned in school spreading the wealth is good for everyone.
Well, I learned from real life that it's not. What about the guy you're taking money from?
Okay, so it's good for 75% of the people. Isn't taking money from one person to make 3 others happy a good thing?
No, it's a very bad thing. In fact, there's a word for it. It's called theft.
But it will better the lives of 3/4 of the people.
Actually, it will make life worse for 100% of the people. And we call that socialism.
I can't stand how all you conservatives say socialism, like it's a dirty word.
That's funny. I feel the same way about how you liberals use the word capitalism. How about giving me 5 minutes and let me tell you a story? Jelly bean?
No thanks. I'm good.
Well, they're mine and I'm happy to share some.
That's all right, Ron. As I see it, I'm already entitled to at least half of them.
That's a good one. Not long ago, there was a college professor in Texas, and he...
Oh, can you make it Southern Methodist? I'm gonna have me a presidential library there one day.
Sure.
Yeah, right. When I'm president, I'm gonna have the biggest presidential library in history.
Yeah, because yours is going to be the only one with an adults-only section. Oh, gosh. I just cracked myself up.
So, the professor was teaching one day when one of his students came up with what he thought was a brilliant idea.
Professor, on behalf of the entire class, I would like to go on record and say that socialism works. It gets rid of the upper and lower class. No one is rich and no one is poor. We would all work hard and we would share everything.
Oh, man. Yeah, go us.
Sounds wonderful. We'll be able to have private jets, right?
Don't think it'll work very well.
I feel what you're both saying, and I love you for it. You are both very intelligent women.
You pig!
Ow! It wasn't me.
Socialism, huh? All right, let's do a little experiment. All grades will be averaged for the next test, and everyone will receive the same grade.
Oh, that sounds good. I mean, the best students will still have pretty good grades, and now nobody will feel like a failure.
Read my lips. No one will be a failure. Right, son? You got it, Pop. This is great news. I better text my buddy Carl. Red Rover, Red Rover. No need to send those answers over.
Yeah, you probably would have got caught anyway. I wish I had that on tape.
So the time came to put the experiment to the test. It didn't seem like much changed. Maybe one or two had doubts.
A very good question. Very direct, and I'm not gonna answer it.
Here, I smoked it, but I never inhaled.
I know. You're not a criminal, right?
I have inhaled and exhaled everything.
Well, class, the results are in. Everyone got a B.
What?
All right, go us!
Bill, this is all your fault. I demand a recount.
Hey, this is perfect. My average just went up. No child left behind, right?
What are you discussing?
I'm very confused.
The students who had studied hard were upset, while the students who had studied very little were happy. But when the next test rolled around, the students who had studied little studied even less. And the ones who had studied hard decided, since they couldn't make an A, they wanted a free ride. So they also studied less. The second test average was a D. No one was happy. When the third test rolled around, the average grade was an F.
I like the color red because it's a fire, and I always see myself as being on fire.
The scores never increased as bickering, blame, name-calling all resulted in hard feelings. And no one would study for anyone else. To their great surprise, all students failed.
If you think I have worked all these years to let Herb ride on my
I
coattails,
did
and
not
you,
cause
you,
this.
are
This
you
is not
kidding
my
I
fault.
can't make a B on my own.
You see, class, socialism doesn't lift the bottom up. It tears everyone else down.
That was a stupid idea. I could have told you that on tape. Wait, I think I did.
Who came up with this idea anyway?
I'll tell you who came up with it. The new kid.
Ooh, let's get him.
Let me be clear.
Get him!
Never mind.
So, what did you think, Chief?
Interesting story, but I don't see it the same way.
Well, just remember, government's first duty is to protect the people, not run their lives or steal their ambition and dreams. A government big enough to give you everything you want is a government big enough to take away everything you have.
Oh, that's some good stuff. Good stuff there. Thanks to Tim, puts all that stuff together, makes the show happen here. Without him, you wouldn't be watching me, so thank you, sir. College, he says it's too expensive. We're going right back into it. Right back into it. He wants tax credits, grants, loans, wants the government to make sure that colleges keep costs down. How about you look at the public colleges first? Let's get those into reality. Someone working for a public college, that's the dean of the college, does not need to make astronomical amounts of money. And you say, well, you won't attract the right people and this and that. No, you're right. You'll attract the people that want to do the job, that can live comfortably at 100, 150, not 275. That's what you'll attract. If it was all just about money, we'd be paying police officers $1 million a year. Teachers. How about the people that are doing the work? Not some guy that sits behind a desk like this, barks out some orders. Private colleges, on the other hand, have the right to do whatever they want. They're private colleges. Private. Does that word make sense to you, Mr. Obama? They can charge whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. They can pay the people whatever they want, and you don't have nothing to say about it. Well, you shouldn't anyway. This is going to be fun. What's the criteria to decide linking this federal aid that he talked about and how they run and keeping everything affordable? What is the criteria for this? Who qualifies? Who doesn't? Do liberal schools get more money? I bet the conservative religious schools will not qualify for much here. He spoke about immigration. Boy, does he talk good, doesn't he? I mean, you can't say that he made a bad speech. You can say the content was a bunch of blah, 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 but the speech itself I mean, you know, that's why he's there, right? He's pretty good. He looked pretty good. He sounded pretty good. But when you look at the content of what he said here, folks, not very good. Stronger border security, more boots on the border, which I do believe, in all fairness, that there are more boots on the border at this point. And that's a good thing. A path to citizenship. Cut the waiting period. Get more of them in here. Wait a minute. We're struggling for jobs, okay? We're not struggling for people to be entrepreneurial. We have those people. They just can't spend their money because the government's going to tax the you-know-what out of them. Take the reins off the American citizens of all different races, faiths, and all that. I don't care who they are. I care what they are. And what they are is American citizens that will create jobs for American citizens. Not for some fast-tracked illegal that's been here. Not going to take a job from somebody that needs it to feed his family, that's lived in this country and paid his dues, to say nothing of veterans that come and live poor, people that risk their lives for us. These people, these scofflaws, these illegal aliens are going to come first? Oh, but wait, Gary, he said they're going to go to the back of the line. Well, the back of the line is baloney. I don't care what line you get into anywhere, you're always at the back of it. So if you put them in line today, yeah, they're at the back of the line today. But you know what? In 3 days, there's going to be people behind them, and now they're on the back of the line. And they're the ones that have got lawyers and sponsors and people, and they want to come into this country legally. Legally. No, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. They're going to take jobs, they take resources, they take money, and they break the law. Immigration is not a bad thing. Illegal immigration will be the fall of the greatest country on earth if we don't do something to stop it. I support and applaud putting more troops on the ground at the border. But you put all these troops on the ground, all these people, boots and you know, guns, armed men, they can't shoot, they can't do anything. They can't do anything because their rules of engagement tie their hands up. So what's the point then of even having them? We talk about this country and how it's this and how it's that, and you know, you hear so many negative things. Let me tell you something. People would not risk their lives to get here. And people would leave here if it was that bad. Let's see what else he's got in here for us today. He wants a bill on his desk ASAP. You know, I had here a stat, but I don't seem to have it in front of me. He calls for bills a lot. I want this on my desk. I want that on my desk. I go back again, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. He had the Senate. He had the House. He's in the White House. Why couldn't all this stuff have gotten done? It's something that they don't want to do. But it's convenient now because you can blame the Republicans. Yeah, we'll blame them. They're not bipartisan. Read in. They don't cave into what we want. But when you had it, when you owned it, when it was all yours, you didn't have the guts to do any of it. Paycheck fairness for women. Great idea. Great idea. Why wouldn't it be? Should that even be an issue? Who's against that? Why is it even in the speech? I mean, again, you're the President of the United States. If there's a discrepancy, fix it. Propose a bill. Wages. He wants to raise the federal minimum wage. He wants it to go up. He wants to make it $9 an hour. CEO pay is high, so everybody else's pay has got to be high. That's flawed in capitalist theory anyway, but he wants a tie minimum wage for the cost of living. If you believe in a minimum wage, I guess you have to believe that it's got to be somewhat tied to the cost of living because it just can't be an arbitrary number, right? Incentives to companies that invest in low-income communities by giving them tax credits. Look, I'm going to say something here that's not going to be very popular, but there's a real easy reason why businesses don't invest in low-income areas. Because they're low-income areas. If you want to make money, you're not going to make money in a low-income area. So what kind of investments are they talking about? Do they want to see stores in downtown areas of lower income, maybe parts of Boston, Brockton, and anywhere, Stoughton, everywhere has areas that are income varies. I'm sorry, but if you have money and you have an idea and you want to open up a store and sell widgets, you want to sell them to people that have money. So there's always going to be a struggle to get people into the community to do business. So you want to give people tax credits to do that. No problem with that. You're going to give him a tax credit on his company, and you're going to whack him over the head, though, Mr. Obama, when he goes to file his income taxes as a small business, as a sole proprietor that's taxed as income when he makes profit. He needs a lawyer. He needs to set up an S corporation. He needs to be a C. You need to know so many things. See, this is the problem. You should just be able to go do it. Take the gloves off. Let the people open businesses, and they will. People want to make money. There's great ideas, and there's great communities that can support businesses. But the only people that take advantage or that the tax credit means anything to are big businesses that are doing millions and millions and millions and millions, hundreds and millions, if not billions of dollars a year. Now you offer someone a half a point or something like that, it means something. But when I have my store, and it's in a lower income area, and my business takes in a couple $100,000 a year, that tax credit means nothing. That's a fact. Wants fathers to be around in communities. Well, you know what? So do I. So does everybody. But I'm going to tell you something right now. It's not the government's place to tell me, if I'm a father, that I should be with my child. I need to know that on my own. I don't need the President of the United States to tell me that that's what I need to do. Believe me, legislation coming soon. Do I think personally? Yeah, I think that's a huge issue. A huge issue is not having two parents. But there's lots of wonderful and great people that didn't have two parents as well. Life is what you make of it. A safety net is just a safety net. But that's it. You climb out of the net and you climb back out and you get back on it. Military, he says, in Afghanistan, they will take the lead. 34,000 troops will be home this year. Next year, the war will end. Okay, so I'm a terrorist. Okay, well, he's next year. So let's just go work the fields and do our thing, buy some time, about 6-7 months, we'll start training again. They'll pull out, we'll take over. That's why Bush would never give an exit time. Do you think that they had no time? Do you think the generals and the presidents and all the joint chief, all these people had no idea when they wanted to leave? They weren't going to say it because they wanted them to think that we would be there indefinitely until they were gone, to draw them out, to fight, so we could fight them and we could kill them. But now we're going to tell them that next year we'll be gone. We'll still hunt terrorists, he says. Anyone that threatens us, we'll hunt them. And I like that talk. He wants to help other countries fight terrorists. We will lead the effort. How much money are we going to spend on this? How much money are we going to spend on this? We just spoke for a lot of years about Bush and about how he has spending too much money and he's nation building and he's thising and he's thating. And every network that you turned on the TV, that's all they had, specialists and analysts and people around tables, much like this one, yapping and talking about all this stuff. I didn't see any this morning. I didn't see any last night. What does he mean that we will lead the effort? What does that mean? Does that mean that we will just pay for it with the higher taxes that we're going to get from the rich people? That's supposed to fund the government, though. Your math doesn't add up, sir. North Korea, their acts isolate them, he says. And they do. You know, North Korea is a real problem. Even China knows they're a problem. We all know they're a problem. So we can ignore the problem, or we can do something about it. Something punitive to them. But we don't want to ruffle any feathers, I guess. We don't, we're just going to go along to get along, just like with Iran. He says they'll be kept from getting nukes. How? How is he going to do that? How is he going to do it? It's just very interesting to me that we seem so willing to give this guy a pass on the exact same things that we would not give his predecessor a pass on. Now, I'm going to tell you, I'm no big Bush defender. I thought his first term, I thought he was fantastic. His second term, I think, started off well, and I think he went downhill. Where I think he really went off the cliff was with his stimulus package. Again, big government's not the answer. Cyber terrorism is increasing, and that's true, and we need to invest in that. And that was good that he wants to invest in that. An executive order signed to combat this. What's in that? What is that executive order? Why was there no vote on it? They passed the Patriot Act. It was at least out there to see. I can't see this? Unbelievable. No vote. Executive orders. This guy loves executive orders. He wants Congress to authorize more safeguards to cyber attacks. Well, I thought that you had your thing. I thought you were all set because you signed your executive order. Why don't you tell us what's in that so we make sure we're not duplicating or empowering that on your end with what you've just done through executive order. Thanks for telling us, by the way. All right, we're going to take a look at another feature. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about trade. We're going to talk about the military and a few other things. We'll be right back on the Freedom Network.
Henson Ange, followed by Justin Holstrom, Jason Tetlow, Thomas Philippides, number 659. Thank you. Please proceed.
Yeah. My name is Henson Ong. Forgive me, English is not my first language. I am a legal immigrant, and I am an American by choice. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to express my opinion and give my testimony in opposition to the majority of the proposed bills which do nothing to deter future crimes. Gun control does not work. Your own history is replete with high school rifle teams, Boy Scout, marksmanship merit badges. You could buy rifles at the hardware stores. You could order them, mail order, delivered to your home. Your country was awash in readily available firearms and ammunition. And yet, in your past, you did not have mass school shootings. Other people have already expressed the question, what changed? It was not that the availability of guns suddenly exploded or increased. It actually was decreased. What was changed was societal decay. If gun control actually did work, Washington, D.C. and Chicago would be the safest cities in your nation, but it is not. They have the toughest gun laws and the highest crime and murder rates. Now, some people have asked and called the AR-15. They called the AR-15 a weapon of mass killing. Well, it turns out that there are a few government agencies which disagree with that characterization. The Department of Homeland Security has stated that a rifle chambered in 5.56 NATO with a 30-round magazine is suitable for personal defensive use. I have documentation on that. It is HSCEMS-1212-00011, solicitation for the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. Now, who needs an AR-15 with 30-round mags? That question has also been brought up. And I would like to put forward that had the Koreans in the LA riots not had AR-15s and AK-47s with 30-round magazines and Ruger 30s, their businesses would have been burned to the ground like all of the other businesses in their neighborhoods. Theirs stood because they stood their ground. I would also put forward the conjecture that had the 10,000 students at Tiananmen Square not been unarmed, things may not have resulted in so many of them disappearing. In your own laws, United States versus Miller, 309, U.S. 174, 1939, it was made clear that the type of firearms protected by the Second Amendment were those specifically useful and common for military use in defense of the state. I would like to note that the state is not the government. The state is the people. In Lewis,
Excuse me, Mr. Hodge, if you would.
in Lewis
please
versus
wrap up.
United States, 1980, it is stated that the Second Amendment guarantees no right to keep and bear a firearm that does not have some reasonable relationship to the preservation and efficiency of a well-regulated militia. It has nothing to do with hunting. The militia, as per the debates in the convention, shows plainly enough that it is composed of all males physically capable of acting in concert for common defense. And further, that ordinarily, when called for service, these men were expected to appear bearing arms supplied by themselves and of a kind in common use at the time. The AR-15 is the most common and popular rifle in America at this time.
Would you please wrap up?
I will wrap up. I would like to wrap up with a statement from Judge Andrew Kozinski in Silveria vs. Lockyer, 2003. My excellent colleagues have forgotten these bitter lessons of history. The prospect of tyranny may not grab the headlines the way vivid stories of gun crime usually do, but few saw the Third Reich coming until it was too late. The Second Amendment is a doomsday provision, one designed only for those exceptionally rare circumstances when all other rights have failed. A free people can only afford to make this mistake once.
Thank you.
Another great job. Thank you again, Tim. It's interesting the stuff that you can find out there on the web, poll, the resources that are available to us. And that's why that cyber stuff is so important, because we do need to safeguard that. We do need to do that. And I'm hoping, I really am, that he comes through and he does something with that, but I'd like to have a little more transparency if we could. Trade, he says, fair for all. USA will help impoverished countries. Well, back up the happy wagon. How about this impoverished country? Can we help this one? We will defend freedom, which is wonderful. We'll stand with citizens in the Middle East. Be careful who you stand with, okay, in the Middle East. Because they're burning their own flag, but next month they'll be burning the American flag. You gotta be careful how much money we pour into an area of the world that has such disdain for America. Very careful. Does that mean we don't help? Yeah, we should help. But how we help? Targeted? We've done it in South America. We've seen it happen in the Middle East already, where we've allowed and helped people come to power that we've only had to take down later. He wants us to maintain the best military the world has ever known. Well, that's good if he means it, if he really means it. Hopefully he does. Women and gay people are welcome in the military. Support vets and families. He talks about a lot of interesting things there. A lot of feel-good stuff. All do our part to protect freedom. All these things, just jotting them down as he was writing. You know, I'm going to tell you, the military serves one purpose, okay? This is the job of the military, to kill people. So if you have it in you to kill people and to defend us, I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from, who you pray to, who you sleep with. It's irrelevant to me. But you got to have that. The military is no place to have testing for various social types of things. Not the place for it. So I don't care who you are. Again, I don't care what you do. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I don't care if you're half man and half woman. But you got to be able to kill. You got to be able to fight, and you got to have it in you. And you got to be able to pass all the same tests and do all the same stuff. And if there's a nice baseline and that's what it is, I'm fine with it. Again, the government shouldn't be involved with decisions of morality. Protect child care. He talked about guns. He wants to protect the children that are in the care of the schools. He wants background checks. He wants assault weapons to be dealt with, whatever that means. Limit availability of guns is what I'm getting. Wants voters to get out there and vote on gun control. Now, I'll tell you, I may not agree with it, but it's about the most democratic thing that he said last night. He doesn't want Congress to block votes on this issue. Folks, come on. We've talked about guns, and we will talk about guns probably often because it's in the news all the time. The fact of the matter is, time and time out, history has proven, disarm the citizens, and the country is susceptible to many things. We sit here on a very lofty post, my generation, and anyone younger than me especially, but even my parents, wars that we fight elsewhere. We don't get invaded. We take these things as a given. We can't do that. We talked about the Federalist Papers. We talked about James Madison. We talked about what the Second Amendment really means. It's enough. Making laws only affects law-abiding people. If you could ban drugs, they're illegal, there's plenty of them around. There will still be guns around. And I love that thing that I saw on Facebook. My semi-automatic weapon, when they ban semi-automatic weapons, mine won't be illegal, it'll just be undocumented. People aren't going to give them up, folks. I mean, overall, I think he did a good job. He seemed like everybody he kept talking about, though, seemed like they were near Michelle. Did you notice that? I don't know if they were moving people, if they wanted her, or if it just happened circumstance that they just happened to, be there. Doubt it. But I thought that was just interesting. All in all, it looks like he's going to spend a ton of money. He is a very activist kind of a government. This is an activist government. These are activist people, and they will infringe into your life. That's quite clear. I watched Rubio, Republican out of Florida. He's certainly got some promise. I mean, he does. He talked about Washington doesn't instill values, but people do and families do. Obama's solution is government. A lot of the stuff that we've talked about, I won't go through all the points. Raising the minimum wage, though, does have implications. You have a business. Keep the numbers simple. You have $100 a week to spend on payroll. I don't care if they tell you got to pay someone $1 million an hour. You ain't got it, you ain't got it. So what do? You got to follow the law. So what do? You lay somebody off. So now someone makes nothing, and 9 other people can make their extra $1 an hour, whatever the case may be. That's a fact. That is economics on a level that we can all understand. And that's reality. And you will see that will happen. I think in Massachusetts we're at about 8, so it'd be $1 an hour raise. If you're open 10 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's 50 hours, that's $50, plus every associate you have there. You're talking about a lot of money, folks. If you're a one-man show or a 3-man show, small family business, 15, 20 people, you're talking about a reduction of force or taking your money out of your pocket and paying them. And that's what they want you to do. They want you to take your money out of your pocket, pay them, you make less, and if you're going to make more, we're going to tax you at these high rates. That's what we're going to do. It's punitive. You know, very feel-good speech by Rubio, very feel-good speech by Obama. Government is not the answer, folks. And I got a big question here. I know we're getting tight on time, but I got a real big question. Why? Why was the water so far away? He needs a sip of water. He'd take a sip of water. I keep a water right here. That's it. Why? Why was that so awkward? I was laughing. Reaction to Obama's speech was good. It looks like he got a bounce, as would be expected. He should get a bounce. Gallup has him at 52, approve, 42 disapprove. Rasmussen has him at 55, approve, 44 disapprove. And CBS has him at 52, approve, 38 disapprove. Before the speech, the same polls looked to be a little bit under 50%, so he did get a few points from that. So why are we becoming a country that wants this big bloated government? Why are we doing this? It's the conditioning. It's the slippery slope. It's 3 years ago this, 10 years ago this, 8 years ago this, 12 years ago this, and it all adds up. It builds until you have a big snowball rolling down the hill and you can't even stop the thing. He said we doubled the distance that cars can go on a gallon of gas. That's just false, Obama. That's just false. My car gets what it gets. And if I buy a new one, it gets 2 or 3 more than the old one. As a matter of fact, the agreement that he's talking about doesn't even go into effect until, they don't start them until 2017. Those models, they will start with this higher fuel goal, economy type thing. It won't be fully in effect, though. The goal is 2025. But he says that's what it is anyway. He urges this Congress to have bipartisan, market-based solution to climate changes. What is that? I mean, what is that? Obama failed to get a global warming, climate change, whatever you say. I don't know what to call it anymore. Whether it's global warming, whether it's climate change, I don't know. But he couldn't get one through Congress when he had both houses. He couldn't get it through. He just wants to blame the Republicans for it not going through. He doesn't care. Don't you see it? He doesn't. This is a master puppet, is what we got here. Illegal immigrants go to the back of the line. We talked about that. We don't know what it means. We fact-checked it. We still don't know what it means. I'll get back to you on that. We've covered a lot of ground. We went over the speech. Tim or Gary at gmail.com. I want your continued feedback. We love getting it. Don and John, Jim, Dylan, everybody that's been emailing, it's been wonderful. Keep doing it. Folks, this has been another edition of the Freedom Network. We'll see you again next time.